they got into Erlang and how that's changed our business dramatically. So yeah, a little bit about me to begin with. I am what they call a senior developer at Kóði. I'm not sure what that means, but it's on my name tag. I've been building financial software and banking software for a long time. Since that used to be our only industry in Iceland, I started out doing that when it was basically my first job, building banking solutions and trading solutions. And mostly kind of building on top of big software that costs millions of euros. And it was a lot of fun while it lasted. But then suddenly we couldn't afford that anymore. And we had to kind of, we all lost our jobs and we had to figure out. We founded this company called Kóði in 2009, just after the financial collapse. And we figured, we only know finance, so let's just do finance. So it's a tiny firm. It's a young company, as I said earlier. There's only 8 people now, 6 developers, 3 Erlang developers. No, wait, 5 Erlang developers, and 1 guy that doesn't want to learn. Which we also do clients, so we need that. And there's also a brewmeister, because we not only are we a software company, but we're also a brewery.
Usually it's the inverse, I would say.
Yeah, and the thing is,
Which one was profitable from day 3?
that was the software part, because we kind of sold our software before we built it. So on day 3 we signed the contract, and then we figured, okay, we better get something ready in 6 months. And but the brewery part is kind of what we are planning to do. So we do software until that part becomes profitable. Then we'll stop doing software and just do brewery. And if you're ever in the neighborhood, you can definitely drop by and try our great ESB, like our special bitter, which we call Ómar'll SB, and our IPAs and whatever. So you can even buy it at one micro bar at the neighborhood, just next door, sometimes. So about our products, this is part of them. We do market data service and streamers, so that's basically getting market data from the exchanges to our clients. We do trading applications, which allow you to do trades on an open exchange. We do order management systems, which allow you to kind of manage the life cycle of an order. So you can say, execute that bit or that order when the market is in a specific state. We do market analysis tools, which are obvious what they're supposed to do. They help both the legal departments within banks to see that everything is being done legally and stuff like that, which is kind of in these days. So we stream JSON to our clients over WebSocket today. We talk to the exchanges using a protocol called FIX and FAST. So these are just kind of boring financial protocols developed 10 years ago, and you can see that on how they're built. They're horrible. We connect to the Nasdaq OMX currently, but we're expanding. So that's the Nordic Nasdaq. So Nasdaq Inc. owns all the exchanges in the Nordics, which are a few of them. And we're handling hundreds of thousands of messages a second, and we're streaming that out to thousands of clients. And we have a REST service layer, which is kind of being used by a lot of government agencies, including the central bank. So it's being used by all the major banks in Iceland. There are still banks there, and they're using this, and it's being used for some important stuff. So it's kind of, we oversold it. They all kind of liked the price tag and that it was, and how good it was supposed to work. So we were kind of in deep shit. And other parts we do is we run an exchange, and the REST stuff we do. And then of course we've got IT departments that need to communicate with this stuff, and so we provide APIs to that. So when we started in 2009, we knew C#. We thought we knew C#. So we went on and we built it all in C#. We had a C# servers, we had C# clients, Java components, C++ components, BAT scripts for deployment and management, and some PowerScript stuff, which turned out really well for the first year. When we had no traffic on the market, that was excellent, because everything was gone. Like one company on the stock exchange in Iceland, and then we only had an Icelandic customer base. So that was fine. So we had like less than 100 live connections. That was going really well. And we made a lot of really horrible architectural designs, mistakes. You know, we had hundreds of thousands of lines of code because Visual Studio makes it really easy to press tab and just generate code. We liked the DB at the time, so we used that. We shouldn't do that, ever. So we started running into performance issues in 2009. Sorry, in late 2009. And then we started running into scalability issues because we couldn't take this blob of horrible code and kind of scale it up. So we had to change because our customers were they're being pissed off. You know, as I said, it worked great until the economy started to do better. And people started to have some money they needed to invest. So we went from 20 bits a day to 200 to 1,000. And then suddenly our customers wanted foreign markets in. And we figured, yeah, we designed for that and we just turn it on. And suddenly you get healthy data coming from the Nordics and everything just starts to melt. And our servers start to melt. We also wanted to focus on smaller customers, so not like big companies. We thought like, yeah, we want to do the hosted stuff. And we started like monkey patching our servers, which worked fine for a month or so. But then stuff started to break and we started like, we need to re-engineer our application in a short time. So we did a bunch of spikes. We did an Ada spike, which was fun. It was a little bit complex. Nobody really knew Ada, and Ada was and is kind of a specialist language, if that's a way to put it. It's hard to get documentation. It's hard to get people around that might have used it. And the community is not really friendly if you're not doing military stuff, I guess. Yeah. So then we did one part in Erlang and Node.js. That's my fault, because I didn't know Erlang at the time, and I was young and stupid, and I thought Node.js was a really cool thing. And that worked really well until we started to like shadow it with our real-time live application. Then the Erlang servers were doing good, but the Node.js part was blowing up repeatedly. So we ended up writing it all in Erlang. Horrible Erlang to begin with. Like we went through all the problems. We did like funneling messages through a single process, which just takes down your node. So yeah, we've done all that. But it took 6 months. And we've got, now we're doing only Erlang servers. We are moving to JS for clients, but we do C# as well, of course. We do C for all our mathematical stuff. And we do Python for glue codes and jobs and all the stuff that kind of you need to have. And we went from hundreds of, like this is this classic story, we've heard it a million times. We went from hundreds of thousands of lines of code to, we're still doing tens of thousands of lines of code. That's mostly the C part. And that's not going to get any smaller, I think. We're replacing our C# servers. We've replaced them all on our premises, and we're doing that now at our customers' premises. But that's been the hard part, getting a slow-moving business, as a banking industry is, to kind of adapt Erlang. And we're running, yes, as I said, we're running it clustered on our infrastructure, and our customers are running single nodes. Well, those that have started using it. So yeah. We also removed the DB, so which gave us massive performance. So some stuff is being used for DB, so we flush it down to the database. But because what you're doing is you're handling bits and asks, so basically orders. Now we keep them just in a process state, in the process like state, so we don't need to look it up in a DB. We used to actually persist every order down to a database, and then another order came in and we had to do a match, so then we just did a select, and that doesn't work. Yeah?
Were you using the database as a queue before?
We actually had a queue, and so that was another problem. No, we didn't use the database as a queue, but the queue was another problem. So, but we got rid of the DB as a bottleneck. We still use it because we need to persist a lot of data for legal reasons. And yeah, so it's still there. Another database, but still. And we do it distributed within our center, because our center is probably the only one that's connected to many exchanges. So we need to be able to distribute, which we've got lots of symbols, like you got like an airline and Maersk, the oil and shipping company. And they're all receiving a lot of bits and asks, a lot of orders. So a single node would not be able, like a mainframe node will be able to handle it, but the hardware we're using is commodity hardware, and we couldn't do that on a single box. That would just not work. And just ask questions while we go, if you have any. So how we got there? First we had to, because nobody knew Erlang at the firm, and Erlang wasn't used in Iceland at all at the time. There was no company using it. So we had to kind of learn it ourselves and kind of get into the different mental model of using messaging instead of, just using that kind of model to program, and the concurrent mindset, I guess. Not the language isn't hard, but kind of like the language is small and concise, but how to design a complicated system is where you're going to break down. We misused ets, we misused amnesia, we've done all that, and we've had crashes and angry people call us because of that. And that's why I say 6 months of coding and then 3 months of refactoring, which is probably, we replaced every single line of code, I think. But our biggest problem was designing a development, to design and create a deployment procedure for our customers, and then get that audited by them, by the financial monitoring agency that had to kind of stamp the software, especially the exchanges and all that stuff. That's been our problem. Now, like the coding, it was the simple part. So the obstacles we met, excluding those, was that .NET is really big in Iceland, still is. We're probably the only country, like when we had our financial collapse, Microsoft actually gave every company using .NET software a massive discount for the next, still do actually. So like the license fee haven't gone up. So they're good at marketing there. It's taught in our universities, and people generally like it. Erlang is unknown, as I said. And most of the banks only had Windows infrastructure, so deploying something on Linux within the banks, they had like Windows and mainframes. And we wanted to bring in a Linux box, so that was surprisingly hard. The community, the Erlang community, looks from afar, looks a bit small and geeky, so it doesn't look business friendly. It is, but it doesn't look so. Like if you're reading the mailing list, it's not a lot of people that seem to be using it in business. So businesses had never heard about it. And then, as I said earlier, deployment to customer premises was a problem. And obviously, hiring people was impossible. And what we heard was stuff like, isn't it a dead language? Nobody uses it for actual work. It's slow, which is true. It's slow doing some things. And again, nobody uses it. There isn't a big backer. That's something we heard a lot, because when you have Java, they could point to Sun or Oracle. .NET is Microsoft. So these are like big, giant firms. And obviously, the fact that we're using Emacs in 2012, and everybody's used to IDEs. And obviously, the classic question when people go onto Wikipedia is, if Erlang is so good, why did Ericsson drop it? Which they did, but they're using it again now. But
They never dropped it.
okay, it's on Wikipedia, so somebody should fix that, because that was a massive problem for us.
They tell the world they were using it, especially higher management.
But even that was a problem for us. So we had to kind of go on a marketing blitz for Erlang in Iceland. And what we did was we pointed to Erlang solutions. We never actually used their services, but as soon as we could point to a company that specializes in servicing Erlang, that's good. We told them that yes, Erlang is still being used within Ericsson, and they've even got some products coming out. I believe one came out this year, like a telephone box or something. We were able to talk about Erlang at Goldman Sachs. So like financial companies have used it. We're not the first one to do it. We started a code sharing project, a program with our customers. So some of our stuff is open source, some of it isn't, but we share oral code with our customers. Even if they can't understand it, they can at least look at it. And we kind of had to rethink deployment. And obviously the software was better. They saw that on their testing platform. And then just lots of meetings, lots of drinking, which is what we do in Iceland if we need to we don't talk to people unless we're under the influence. So if you visit, you should know that. And we were able to get it deployed at our, they've all said okay now. So we've got pretty good uptime on our data centers. Great, actually. We haven't really gone down for about a year now.
Don't say it.
Sorry?
Just don't say it.
It's probably gonna, I should turn off my phone. No, it's late now, it's closed anyway. That's a good thing that we actually only do business from 8 o'clock until 4 o'clock, because that's when the market is open. That's excellent. It's deployed in our data centers and at company premises, customer premises, and we have no access to those premises. Keep that in mind, because that means we need to, we would need to get audited more often. That's the problem. We are moving the rest of our services that are written in C# to Erlang. I think there are 2 left, but then people tend to ask for new stuff, which is, so there are going to be more. And probably the nice thing is that we've chosen Erlang as our main server language, and that there's a lot of interest in Iceland and Erlang. And you need to figure out that Iceland is a tiny place. I think Vancouver has, 3 million people or something, and there are 300,000 of us. So we were able to get Erlang courses into the university, for instance, so that's taught there, kind of a couple of courses a year. And we've been doing going to other firms and telling them how great this is and all that. So that's been kind of great. And we know now there are a few other companies using it there, and a lot of companies looking at it. A lot of companies being maybe 6. But it's big, it's large. For us, it is. So the problem we had, as I said earlier, was deploying this at customers' premises. So coding it was the easy part, because we could just do that in our offices, and it was, easy. But we decided early on that we're just going to support Red Hat Enterprise Linux and CentOS for deployment. And this is what our customers were kind of really worried about. Like, how can we deploy this at our premises? How can we manage it? How can we know that? How can we receive updates? We don't want to do a lot of, we don't want to retrain all of our IT staff so they know how to run the Erlang, to use the Erlang shell. That's not going to happen. They're busy running the day-to-day business of the bank, so you couldn't do that. So we developed a deployment kind of procedure with one of our close customers. Close because, again, it's a tiny place, and we all used to work at that bank, and we all know all the people there, so it was nice. They gave us access without signing the papers. And the problem we also, as I said earlier, many of the sysadmins had no experience with Linux management and didn't want to learn it, which is fair. Let's see. So what we've done, we have got monitor hooks into all those monitoring systems that you need. And we use RPM as our only way of distributing packages to our customers. So we distribute our software as RPM, we distribute all of our dependencies as RPM, and we've just started distributing apps as RPMs as well. So we create an app, ship it up to their audit department that audits it and signs off on it. And then it takes 2 days to get through the whole process of deploying at a customer premises. Unless it's on fire, then it's okay. It takes 20 minutes, so it's you can see how much work they're doing. And they basically are able to install an RPM package, and it's just, it applies the app, and the system normally works better. So we talked earlier about the, somebody here, James, right? Talked about how they do building stuff. We do it pretty much the same way. You have Jenkins listening to our repository, and as soon as I merge to the master branch, an RPM package is created, and our customers get notification that they should maybe try this at their testing, testing centers, because obviously you have testing and production at their premises. And then we do a lot of documentation. A lot of documentation. We're changing our deployment model. We're trying a new one, since we need to have something to do. And that's, we really like the kind of GitHub Enterprise model. And this is a model I think that could fit, because it seems to work really well for GitHub. Do you know the model, if you buy that product, do you know how that works? You get an image, and then just install it on your server, and you should be good.
They ship you a VMDK and then deploy it in your cluster.
Yeah. And we're still, yeah, we're trying that with one customer. And it allows us, it's a lot simpler for us to deploy it to get people to deploy it just the way we want. And some of our customers now are using our services to such a degree that they need clusters. And I was wondering how we would go ahead and deploy that on a premises that we don't have access to. And that's when we started, so we were able to ship basically nodes, which basically operating systems, which they are able to install, go into a simple web interface and connect nodes together, and then you have a working cluster, and then you can define, I want to take this cluster out, and I will move the symbols to another server. It's really fancy. It uses React Core for all that stuff. And a web and a REST interface to apply the app apps that used to be RPMs. They're still RPMs, but now you get they get an email, go into a web interface, and there's one pending update, and just click install. It will do all the RPM boring work. And it still uses RPM, and we use Puppet to manage files, and sorry about that. To manage files and all that. Yeah, so that's basically it. That's how we kind of moved away from a totally Windows-driven infrastructure and software to what is now basically completely Erlang, Linux, and a host of other stuff next to it. Nginx for web stuff, and a web machine, all that fancy stuff. Yeah. Yes?
So how did you address security concerns?
In what sense?
That Erlang is much more dangerous.
Depends. Is it? I know that it is within an open cluster, but we simply need to. Because since we don't control the network, since we don't even have access to it, we just need to educate our customers on the problems. And this should be in a separate network, and we need to trust the network, which is kind of horrible, but there's no other way around that for us.
So my other question is, do you run into concurrency problems with an exchange?
We used to, yes. We had a lot of those kind of problems, but that was just kind of badly architected software on our part. We're able to get around that by